To defeat an enemy, you must know them, not simply their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art. Thrawn to Hera. Welcome to Talk About Tatooine. I'm Andrew.
I'm Nathan.
And we are twin brothers here to bring you what's new in nerddom and give colorful commentary on our favorite subjects. Welcome to our cantina. Grab a drink and settle in as we set course for realities beyond our own.
Welcome, everyone, to episode number 44. Today is September 22nd, and this episode will be released on Monday, September 24th, so in just a few days. Today, we're going to be discussing episodes 5 and 6 of Ahsoka. But first, we're going to start off with our starter questions. So, Andrew, you have a good one for us this week. Go ahead and hit us.
This one is very topical because, like we said, we're going to be talking about Ahsoka, and I had episode 6 of Ahsoka spoiled for me. Granted, I watched it on Thursday as opposed to Tuesday. It was spoiled to me by the time I woke up Wednesday morning, which is not ideal. It makes me a little upset. So the starter question for today is, what is the statute of limitations on spoilers in your opinion?
So you should wait at least a week before you start posting things online, because people have lives, and especially with Ahsoka, it is not released like the day of Tuesday. It is released for our time, like 6 p.m. standard. So it is late in the day. So if you're having a busy night, or you get late out of work like myself, and you show up and you're off. Yeah, and you're just like, man, I don't have time to watch Ahsoka. Maybe you plan on watching it maybe the morning after, and people are throwing up pictures with all the new characters in it. You're like, hey, stop it. Because you can't unsee a picture, but we all know a picture tells picture's worth 1,000 words. So it says so much, and they're like, well, it's not specifically saying what happens. And I'm like, that happened to me in episode 5, or I should say the end of episode 4, when Anakin shows up. And Disney of all people is like, hey guys, here's our trailer episode that we're going to put on Twitter and Instagram and all our social medias, and guess what? It's got Anakin in it. And we're like, why would you do that?
Anakin on the cover.
Straight on the front.
So clear. The Disney social media is actually the worst about this. They are the #1 offender as far as spoilers, because the things that got spoiled to me in episode 6 were the return of Thrawn. You shouldn't be watching this episode if you haven't watched those episodes, just FYI. But anyway, Disney sucks. They totally suck. They spoiled the return of Thrawn. They spoiled Night Sister involvement, and then the guy with the golden mask, he's he's the coolest looking stormtrooper we've had since Phasma?
Probably since the Death Troopers. Come on, Death Troopers look way cooler than Phasma.
Yes, they are.
I'll go to bat for the Death Troopers over Phasma. Hear me, Internet? The Death Troopers are the coolest.
Yeah, Phasma looks cool, but is not cool. They wasted Gwendolyn. They wasted Gwendolyn Christie in that role. So
they
sorry.
Did. They truly did.
Name. So yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. A week. Just wait a week.
Yeah, cool your jets. If people are getting it spoiled less than 12 hours after the episode comes out, you've done something wrong.
Yeah, literally less than 12 hours. They probably posted minutes after it went live. Yeah,
people are terrible, and the social media person at Disney, or the social media department at Disney, needs to either get, I don't know, I don't wish violence on anybody, but somebody needs to get kicked to the pants. This is ridiculous. So, all right, with our opening question here, guys, we just want to shout out our patrons really, really quickly. You too can become a patron of Talk About Tatooine. Guys, we got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We put a ton of time into this, and we want to do more for you guys. So big thanks so far to Mike and Isaac. You guys are the reason we do this, and the reason we can continue going. Guys, we've got some really cool giveaways coming up. We're planning on doing some charitable donations as well. So not only are you supporting us, but you're going to be supporting others in the community as well. If you like Legos or dice or Warhammer or lightsabers, join the Patreon. We got cool stuff we're giving out. We're giving out a set of D6 dice, and they are pretty cool. So if you're a big D&D fan, we can get you lots of different D6 dice, as well as a set of polyhedral dice in Nocturnal Blue. It is a beautiful set. I kind of want one for myself, but I said that about the lightsabers too. So that was a fun one. But make sure you guys support the show. We do lots of fun stuff.
We're not giving out dumb like crap. Like the stuff we're giving out is like pretty high quality. All of the dice that I have are the brand that we're going to be buying from. And I love them. It's really difficult for me not to buy like more colorful pieces of plastic like every week. FYI, this is the last episode that will air before we draw names. So please join our Patreon. There's lots of benefits. This is just one of those benefits. We do giveaways every other month. If we get to the point where our Patreon is quite large, we'll be increasing the amount of items that we give out. We'll also be increasing probably the frequency of giveaways, because giving away stuff is fun. It's a ton of fun.
And so far, y'all seem to like it. So we want to keep doing that. But money does not yet grow on trees. All right, so guys, before we get into our episode review, we just want to make sure that you guys, we did already kind of spoil some things about Ahsoka, but it's also kind of in the title, so maybe watch out. But we're going to be spoiling episodes 5 and 6 super thoroughly. So if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on our podcasts. You guys can find us right now on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and a ton of other places. So yeah, now's your chance to eject, but make sure you guys watch us and follow us on all of those platforms. We can see in analytics that most of you guys are not subscribed. So, hey, you listening right now, I know you're not subscribed, but I need you to be. I need you to smash that button with everything you got. Please do it. Do it for your daddies.
I feel like I want to unsubscribe now. Can I go home?
You cannot. With that, let's talk about our first rating of episode 5. Dude, you know what you got into. You're just as weird as I am.
Yep, that's true. Let's
talk about a rating 1 out of 10. Andrew, hit us.
I gave this one a 9.5. I actually really liked how... Sorry. I really liked how we kind of had that first act climax and we were coming down off of the falling action, but things are still, they're unresolved. There's more questions now than there were before, which is really part of the intrigue. We saw kind of the same thing with Andor, where they would get out of a little bit of a mess and then they would go into more of a mess. Because I think the act 2 of Andor started with the prison sequence, which was my favorite arc out of the first season. But in this one, we see Ahsoka get totally dismantled in combat. This probably has something to do with Baylan Skoll have a very similar fighting style to Anakin / Darth Vader, and he just completely overpowers her. Whereas most of the Jedi fight like similar to samurai, Darth Vader fights like an old school knight with a broadsword or a claymore. And you see that come to bear. You really see that power really overwhelm Ahsoka. She barely holds on and just gets yeeted off of a cliff. And now she literally got yeeted into another dimension. So, and the world between worlds, I thought was just like one singular place, but we see it become so much more dynamic in this episode. And I think that was it. For me, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So I gave this an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a really, really fun episode. I loved that moment when Ahsoka got yeeted into the ocean. I thought that was amazing. And really did. It showed really the strength of Baylan Skoll. Is it bad for me to say that he's my favorite character in this series so far? Because he's a legend, and every time he does something cool, my heart breaks a little bit because Ray Stevenson has passed, and it hurts so stinking much.
Yeah, it's he brought really just like a lot of dynamism to his character and mystery, because we don't know his motivation. We don't know why he does what he does. We don't know why he took an apprentice. He's not a Sith. He's not a Jedi. He's not a gray Jedi, which I'm not a huge fan of the whole gray Jedi fan theory, because it sort of implies that that person, that quote unquote gray Jedi, is still like mostly a Jedi because it's in the name.
I've gone on record before saying I think gray Jedi are stupid.
Instead of adding kind of a spectrum and a slider to their allegiance one way or the other, they're just like, oh, it's in the middle. Exactly. It's like, well, you're not making it kind of like an infinite amount of choices. You're just making a binary choice, a trinary, tertiary, three choices. What? There's three choices. Yeah. I'm really worried that Baylan Skoll's journey is not going to be completed or resolved in this season. And I'm like, what are they going to do?
So I'm glad you bring that up, because I'm also worried about that, because he's got plans. He's got stuff he wants to get done. And I'm just over here like hyperventilating, like, it's what's going to happen? So yeah, I'm very, very worried about it. And I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next couple episodes. I want to say this season is it 8 or 10 episodes? I looked it up in a few episodes back and I can't remember.
I want to say it's 8.
Okay, so that means we only have 2 more. We are officially talking about the 3rd quarter of Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. So that's wild.
I think this would be an appropriate time to, if Skoll's arc is not resolved at the end of season 1, I think they should recast him.
Agreed.
I don't think they should do the whole AI reimagining thing. It has sometimes worked. I thought Leia and Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One were pretty good, but it doesn't always work. Tell your dogs I said hi. I don't think it will be hard to find an actor who has a similar gravitas to Ray Stevenson and has that, and is also a older, very handsome man. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Maybe a Daniel Craig character. I don't know.
I don't think this show has Daniel Craig money.
You might be right. Well, sorry, he's totally shaking the camera. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. How could you?
He literally just wanted to sit on my lap for like 3 seconds. Then he's like, all right, I'm out of here.
He's like, I'm done with you.
Now he's humping his brother. It's fine.
Great. Let's talk about our favorite moments from each episode. There were a lot of cameos in episode 5, Shadow Warrior. We got to see Anakin, and his role in here is amazing because you don't really see... Because my first thought is like, oh, this is Anakin's Force Ghost. And it's like, I don't think this is Anakin's Force Ghost. This is like Anakin as he was right before he fell, which is like basically already in the dark side, because we see at the end of the Clone Wars, his brutality is at an all-time high. He basically is already leaning over the precipice to become a Sith Lord in his kind of moral descent in the Clone Wars, and that's what we see here. We don't see a redeemed Anakin Skywalker. We see the about to fall Anakin Skywalker. So it's probably safe to say that this isn't his Force Ghost, but it's somehow his projection of himself through time and space into the dimension that is the world between worlds, which we could talk a little bit about the lore of the world between worlds, but here's the thing. There's not a clear understanding of how that dimension operates. So it's kind of free game as far as the writing is concerned. There's not a lot of precedent. Multiple characters have had access to the world between worlds, both light side and dark side, including Palpatine, who almost kills Ezra while he's in that dimension in Rebels. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Even though this was a much slower episode, I did feel quite invested emotionally into, okay, now what's going to happen? Even with Ahsoka getting yeeted off the cliff and the Eye of Sion being able to escape that planet, it ended that chapter of the series, but it did, the story is not resolved yet. And so I'm really excited, like everything they're talking about. I'm just like, what is going to happen next?
So I loved the flashback sequence in this. I think that was probably one of my favorite moments. I did have to go back and watch it because at first I actually thought they were on Geonosis for a bit, and then I realized like, no, Ahsoka wasn't at Geonosis. Anakin didn't have a Padawan yet, so I was like, where are they? They're actually at Ryloth. That's the campaign at Ryloth. Yes.
Ahsoka was at the second Battle of Geonosis.
Yes. But not the first one.
I was referring
to the first one in the Clone Wars movie.
Because they were in the Mark I clone trooper armor.
Yes.
In the flashback.
Is that Phase 1 armor?
Phase 1. Thank you. Yeah. Phase 1.
Phase 1 armor. So loved that sequence. I loved that they went full circle. So and I'll get into some lore about that and why they picked probably those specific 2 events to throw in here. And I also loved the Purrgil. I think they did a really, really good job on these guys. Super, super great. I am going to push back on you on something, though, so you might have to hate me here for a little bit. I think that's Anakin's Force Ghost. I think 100% that is Anakin in the afterlife. I think if you I think this is them leading up to if you manifest yourself in the cosmic force and are able to stay around, or is it the living force? I can't remember which one, but the one that allows you to interact with people. The world between worlds is the place where your spirit dwells. And I think Anakin is helping Ahsoka work through some stuff. And part of that is her dealing with the history that her master is not only was only able to teach her how to be a warrior, but that her legacy is different from his, specifically him going through the transition of Darth Vader.
While I still disagree with you, I think that would be really cool because that would set a really interesting precedent, being that we could see the Force ghosts of Yoda, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and really any Jedi who was strong enough to actually manifest themselves corporeally in the living world through the cosmic force.
It would be so cool.
It would be very
I'd be excited. I'd be excited about it. I think it would make sense, just personally.
It would I see a lot of memes on the internet that talk about like where like Obi-Wan is like showing clips of anything after episode 1 to Qui-Gon, and like one of them is like him showing Qui-Gon the clip of Rogue One of Darth Vader slaughtering his way through the hallway, and he's like, you are not going to believe who this guy is. He's like, do you remember little Anakin Skywalker? And he's like, yeah, what happened to that guy? He's like, that's him. Oh, he's like,
that's a big yikers, folks.
That's going to be a confirmed yikers for me. Over. Can you talk to us about some of the lore from this episode? A lot of cool stuff happened.
First thing I want to go over is our first destination. But at first I didn't see Anakin originally cut the light bridge that essentially is like holding them up, and I thought that was kind of cool. But their first destination when they leave the world between worlds is you see Anakin and Ahsoka visit back to the invasion of Ryloth. Now we know this because of specifically mentioned. She says this is one of my first campaigns. And in season 1, episode 19 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars series, the very beginning of that episode, Ahsoka takes her first command, which is leading a squadron to break the separatist blockade over the planet of Ryloth. So that's kind of a clue there. You also see when the battle is roughly over, Anakin is standing with a clone trooper, who is wearing a comma and the markings of a captain. Most likely that is Rex in that shot right there. It's not confirmed because he's not referred to in that exact moment, although he is referred to later. So we do get to see a little cameo of Rex, but he's standing next to 2 Twi'lek freedom fighters. So we see those and you're like, oh, that makes a little bit of sense. And so with those context clues, we know that, okay, she's at Ryloth. So we see Ahsoka burdened with command the very first time in space. She basically as she's attempting to break the Separatist blockade, she runs into a trap. Reinforcements are called in from hyperspace, and Ahsoka's squadron is almost completely wiped out. So she is dealing with the burden and loss and death of her soldiers in her first campaign. And we see that down on the surface as well. She's looking around at all of the dead and the wounded, and she places a hand on one of the clone troopers' chests, and she just feels for these guys. She feels the weight of that responsibility for the first time. And then we see that come full circle at the end. They're at the Battle of Mandalore. This is the last campaign Ahsoka has with the Republic forces. This is the moment, the days before Order 66 is called, and she eventually escapes captivity and execution from Republic forces. So I think they did a really, really good job framing that. I think that's also kind of hard. I had to go back and actually watch some episodes of the Clone Wars to kind of like put that together. I think that's a little unfair for the average Star Wars stan to pick all that up, but I think that is a really, really cool nod for those who did pick up those context clues. It took me a second watch through to catch that, by the way.
Hey, but that's why we talk about lore, is so we can do a little bit of the heavy lifting as far as some of the background info.
Absolutely. And overall, what we see in this episode is Ahsoka is forced to relive the legacy of her master, the most destructive Jedi probably of all time, and a source of a lot of her own self-doubts. She's faced the fall of her master and come back, and she eventually made it back to the land of the living.
Yeah, Ahsoka's journey through the Jedi Order is really, really tragic because she doesn't know peace during her time as a Padawan. And it's really... I mean, yeah, tragic is the only word for it. She's incredibly talented in the ways of the Force. We even see later in this episode, she uses the power of Force psychometry. That's when you are able to physically touch an object and then see a memory associated with that. This is not the first time we've ever seen this ability. Past Jedi have been able to do it in Legends, but we also see it in canon when Cal Kestis uses the same power of Force psychometry to glimpse memories of the past just by touching objects. So
yeah, and this is a power that is common in other fandoms as well. You see psychometry as a form of like sorcery and like fantasy fandoms and things like that. So I was excited to see that as well. I did, however, have to look up what the word was because I was like, oh, I can't remember what it's called when you touch something and a memory comes back. And I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, psychometry. I think I even wrote about that later in my notes, potentially even farther down the page. So we were definitely having a little bit of a twin moment there because I was like, yeah, we're talking about psychometry.
We were inputting our notes at the exact same time. So there is a possibility that we Googled the exact same question, essentially, within like a minute of each other. Because I had to Google the ability where you can see memories when you touch stuff. And I was like, psychometry. And I flipped back to our OneNote to input that. And you had already put it down, which is why I added at the end of that sentence, you dick, I was writing that.
I'm looking at that right now and I was like, wait, you're going to add that last part, right? I love that. Our last bit of lore that we want to talk about in this, guys, is the confirmed existence of space plankton. Now, stick with me. Put on your hats, everybody. Don the tinfoil.
Oh my gosh.
Purrgil have baleen teeth in their mouth, and those are used to strain out small creatures when feeding. So now we know that space plankton are confirmed.
I'm signing off now.
Bye, everybody.
I hate it because you're probably right.
Why would you need teeth like that if there weren't space plankton? This can make a fun short. Let's go into our last section before we go into episode 6, guys. Andrew, hit me with your least favorite part, if you have any. We both rated this episode very, very high, so least favorite is very subjective at this point. Go ahead and hit us.
I am really enjoying your dogs going at it in the background. So their conversation, I should say Phoenix Squadron's conversation with Mon Mothma and the New Republic really frustrating, because Mon Mothma is questioning Hera, and she goes, well, do you have any proof? And she goes, well, no, because the Eye of Sion has already departed. It's like, but you do have proof. Like, I'm a little surprised that like nothing on the Ghost was like recording any of what happened. Chopper probably has a recording. And there's also, I don't know, 2 dead Phoenix Squadron pilots. It's like, they didn't just die from nothing. Okay. Like,
yeah, it's a huge just ball. Like the ball was in, they missed it. They missed it. Like, yeah, they should have said like, hey, we have 2 dead pilots. However, we don't know where they went. Like it's assumed later in the episode that like they start sharing this, because you kind of go back and forth between the captain and the fleet, and they're like giving information, passing things. So they assume that some of these things are being said, but it's also not being said outright. You're like, yes, they followed the hyperspace ring. They originally found stolen parts. They followed it. It went to the ship that they were like, yeah, we confirmed that we thought this was happening. It totally was. And then they got away and they killed 2 of our pilots. Also, they probably kidnapped some Republic citizens. And they probably killed one of our best intel agents. Remember Fulcrum? Yeah, they killed, because they didn't know Ahsoka was alive at that time. So I'm like, you're working on data that says like, hey, we've got bad stuff happening. And they're like, we don't have any evidence. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't have any evidence? Yeah, you don't have Blonde's or you don't have Thrawn's blue skin hanging above your desk. Like, of course you don't have that kind of evidence. But come on, people, get your head out of your butt.
Yeah, New Republic High Command is really showing themselves to be incompetent. And I can't tell if they're doing that on purpose yet.
So any interaction they've had with the New Republic is so frustrating. Like, they're so uptight. Really annoying. They're super bad at managing the galaxy. One of their top generals, a war hero, is investigating this plot that might involve a Grand Admiral. And the worst that can happen is they find nothing. That's the worst thing that can happen. Or I should say, the worst thing that could happen would be they ignored the problem and then Thrawn comes back. The second worst thing is like, hey, we spent like man hours and Republic funds and we didn't come up with anything. That's the worst thing that can happen. But I'm like, they're derelict. What is it? It's a dereliction of duty to not follow up on Imperial, post-Imperial activity. Like, even Leia of Organa, of all people, because they're like, Senator Organa is like upset. And I'm like, Leia and Hera have history. Why would she not trust her? It makes no sense.
Well, I think Leia did, but it didn't sound like Leia was a part of a lot of those conversations, because we see Hera talking to Mon Mothma, and I think Mon Mothma also believes her, but she's like, hey, I need something a little bit more concrete. But like, it's like, you do have something concrete. You have the accounts and the testimonies of more than just one person at this point. And just to be clear, the Grand Admirals are seen as existential threats to the New Republic. They are very literally the heirs to the Empire. It was commonly believed that after the fall of Palpatine, if anyone was going to take power in the Empire, it was going to be the Grand Admirals.
They are the big bads.
They are the big bads. And it's not a position given by those who just have a lot of influence. It's really only given to people who deserve it. It only goes to the most cunning, the most dangerous people. That's why Thrawn gets it, because he is the most dangerous man in the Empire right now, and probably has been for a really long time.
And that's coming from an empire that is hilariously xenophobic. The fact that an alien is holding that position shows you that the Emperor was like, even though he doesn't like aliens, he would be a fool to give up on this strategist. So lots of fun stuff there.
Because the thing is Thrawn is probably the only non-human member of the Imperial Navy. Full stop. And he makes it to the rank of Grand Admiral. Yeah, he should not be underestimated. And that's exactly what the New Republic is doing. But I mean, at the end of the day, we know the New Republic is destroyed. Even after Episode 9, there's no New Republic to go back to. They are now having to rebuild their galactic government. episode 9, the movie.
Yeah, so the New Republic Dead and Gone, they did a bad job. Yeah, I'm right there with you. With that, I think it is time to get into episode 6.
The titles for these are awesome. So episode 6, Far, Far Away, when Hu Yang is talking about the history of the galaxy at the beginning, and he's like, okay, I'll tell you a story. And he goes, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. In my head, I'm thinking, he said the thing. He said the thing. I'm like, yay.
Dude, I out loud swore at the TV when he didn't continue and it cut away to the like, hey, this was the intro of the episode. I was like, mother, so mad. So mad. I was like, you're telling me the historian of the Jedi is not going to tell a story right now? I'm like, dude, I will brew some fresh ass cocoa right now, and I will sit my butt down and I will listen like a good fan. This is ridiculous. It was so good. Like that was just one of the best. Like they pulled at the heartstrings of the fans immediately. If that intro did not pull you in, please go see a psychologist because your heart is probably broken.
Sheesh.
I meant what I said.
I know you did.
If we go into our ratings 1 out of 10, I give this a 9 out of 10. I'm still unsure what a 10 out of 10 looks like. I just don't know. Because the pacing's still a little slow. I still wish more would happen, especially in this episode. I really, really liked it. I liked it just a little bit better because of the obvious cool things that happened, but there was a few parts of this episode where I was like, it's a little slow, but then 9 out of 10 for me on this one, for sure.
Yeah, I gave it a 9 out of 10 as well. The Night Sisters are so cool. Goth mommies in Star Wars. All joking aside, though, witchery in Star Wars adds a lot to the otherwise binary expressions to the Force. We kind of talked about that a little bit with the Grey Jedi. We typically only see the extreme light or the extreme dark, or someone plummeting from one side to the other. Whereas with Shin Hati and Baylan Skoll, we actually see that the entire show has shown really great nuance in how the Force is expressed. I've never been a fan of the whole Grey Jedi thing, but this show does exhibit a lot of that gray area, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? Additionally, we really don't feel like this is a victory, because in this episode we know that Sabine finds Ezra. Yay! Happily ever after.
Jesus.
Space Jesus. I kind of thought the same thing. Hope I don't become smited.
So, big shout out to everyone who's made memes already, because I saw a meme the other day that says what people think Jesus looks like, and it's a picture of Obi-Wan, and then it's like what Jesus actually looks like, and it's a picture of Ezra, and I'm like, nailed it. This is great. Shout out to all the homies who make memes. You guys keep the world moving. We're going to get into my favorite parts of episode 6, guys. The Purgil Graveyard, so metal. So cool. I know that's like the smallest thing to do with the entire episode, but I was like, that's so cool. The Night Mothers, aka the Dark Mommies, so cool. Baylan, who's obviously like, hey, he's talking about building like a new Sith Empire or something, or a new, I don't want to say Jedi Order, but a new Force Acolyte Order. Mm-hmm. So many things, just metal as brick. So excited. Oh, this is my favorite episode so far. So much stuff is happening here. I couldn't be happier.
In this one, we're actually going to talk about what we think is going to happen in the next one. Nathan, can you tell us what you think is going to happen in the season finale? There's only 2 episodes left. We think, if we're wrong, sorry, but we think there's only 2 left. Yeah,
so there is very limited time of things left to happen, essentially. So what has to happen is there's no way Ahsoka is not going to be reunited with Sabine and Ezra. That would be criminal to not reunite them all. However, I think this is also going to lead with a confrontation with Thrawn, because here's the thing. If Thrawn is an existential threat to the main galaxy, let's call it the Prime Galaxy, and they're in the secondary galaxy, they have to eventually go back. I don't necessarily know if that's going to happen in episode 7. What I would like to see happen is Thrawn makes it back to the galaxy and the team figures out how to go back as well. I want them to go just do that thing. I don't know if it also, is Thrawn going to bring the Chimera back with it? Is he going to is he going to be like, hey, Purrgil, come back and grab me and bring me back?
That's what the Eye of Sion is for.
Exactly.
It fits. I'm assuming it fits the Chimera inside.
That, I didn't actually think of that. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and I couldn't be happier. Wow.
Yeah, I believe they built it like that on purpose.
That's so nice.
Your gross face. Jeez. I'm really interested to see how the relationship between Sabine and Ezra is going to play out when Ezra eventually finds out what Sabine is hiding from him. She's like, I just don't want to talk about that right now. And I'm like, that's not an acceptable excuse. And I know Ezra's just like, Ezra's been, a nomadic, just kind of chilling out for quite a while. So he's like, sure, whatever, anything's fine. But it's like, dude, Thrawn is right on your tail. And Sabine
are all those turtle people gonna die?
Maybe.
Because that would be really sad.
That would be. Uh-oh, the Empire's doing a genocide.
You know they're going to. Mr. Skullmask is going to come in and he's going to make some soup. Turtle soup.
No. Oh, gosh. I'm changing the subject right now. The Star Destroyer Chimera is the flagship of Grand Admiral Thrawn. It's the only Star Destroyer we know of so far that actually has like decals on them at all. You see it actually has like the twisting serpent of the Chimera on the underside of the Star Destroyer. That is very unique to Thrawn's capital ship. He, like we said before, he's the only non-human to ever have served in the Imperial Navy, let alone ascend to the status of Grand Admiral. Imagine Sherlock Holmes, but brutal. If you saw the Chimera and thought it looked kind of rough as well, like it's in bad shape. When we see it flying, when we see it from the backside, clearly most of its thrusters are not operational. You would be right. In the season 4 finale of Rebels, we see Ezra and Phoenix Squadron rally a massive pod of star whales that destroy Thrawn's supporting fleet, which consists of several other ISDs, attach themselves to the Chimera, and then jump to light speed. From here, we can connect to the dots that they jump to Peridia. Ezra and Thrawn are actually wounded in this fight, so I think it would be really interesting to see kind of a flashback to see how that actually panned out, because Ezra was not in a strategically sound position when they left off. Thrawn had actually shot him in the back, kind of in the shoulder area. Ezra disarmed him with one hand, held him basically against the front wall of the bridge as the Purrgil jumped them away. And then with his other hand, he was actually holding closed the door to the bridge, holding in a squad of stormtroopers ready to kill him. And remember, he does not have his lightsaber. So he's in quite a bit of a pickle. I would really enjoy seeing how that battle turned out. And we know that from past episodes of Ahsoka, that Dave Filoni is a fan of recreating shot for shot scenes that happen in Rebels. So I would very much like to see what happens.
It's gonna be so cool.
Another little bit of lore for you guys. If you haven't read like a lot of the books, maybe some of the games, but we don't see in a lot of movies, other than I think Rey, when she communicates with that sandworm and heals it in episode 9, the Jedi have historically always had deep connections with animals and nature. So it really warms my heart to see that Ezra and Ahsoka commune with the Purgle so well. Additionally, we see that this is an ability that's usually only known to those who are more closely aligned to the light side of the Force. The dark side doesn't really breed cooperation in animals. It breeds coercion of animals, and kind of like if you were to see a Sith interact with an animal, it would probably be to drive it into a killing frenzy rather than to get it to cooperate in some way.
Isn't there... So I'm gonna throw it back real far. In the Star Wars RTS Empire at War, is there not a precedent for, I think, Night Sisters riding on the back of Rancors?
Yes, there is.
So,
and we know that
cool.
the Night Sisters were the first ones to master the Purgil. Maybe what I said was not totally true.
But also we were talking earlier how like the Night Sisters don't necessarily like they're sorcery, but it's like it's not the dark side. Like, I don't know. I think of imagining the Force on a single line spectrum is not fair. I think there's the center, and then the Force branches off in many different directions, like kind of in a circle or a pie chart almost. And where you find yourself along that plane is how you manifest the Force. And so I think that tends to lean over towards kind of the dark side, but isn't necessarily... Calling it the dark side of the Force wouldn't be doing it an adequate amount of justice, if that makes sense.
Because they're not Sith, specifically. They're witches.
Correct. They're witches.
It's different.
It's my witches.
And I don't like it.
It's different, and I don't like it. I don't have any lore to add for this one because other than I do want to just say for a second time that yes, there are the existence of space plankton, and I'm very excited to see them someday. Andrew, hit me with your least favorite part of episode 6 before we go into some news from the HoloNet.
I had very little to nitpick in this episode. There are a few parts when Sabine is in the wilderness that were just a little bit slow. I found her interactions with, I think it's the Naughty people, Noti. That's the language they speak if you have subtitles turned on. It was just, it didn't really pull me in because we didn't actually know what they were saying. We knew what Sabine was saying, and apparently they were able to understand her, but I was like, okay, it doesn't need to be this long. But usually that's a pretty minor criticism.
Yeah, usually the precedent for like aliens speaking a different language is they start off speaking and then they're like, oh, they learned the same language. And that's for the pleasure of communicating so that we, the folks, understand. Because every time they spoke, it was speaks in Noti language in the subtitles. It wasn't like giving you a subtitle of like, oh, this is what they're saying, which honestly would have been nice. It would have been nice to like actually know like, hey, this is what's going on, to give the audience some of that information, but we didn't. My least favorite part so far has really actually been the development of Ahsoka. I felt like so far this has been more of the Sabine Wren show than Ahsoka, other than episode 5, where they do build out Ahsoka's character quite a bit, and she does go through the struggle with Anakin and his history and like what did she actually learn from the Jedi, things like that. But like the first 4 episodes, I'm like, those were mostly about Sabine, I feel like. So I would really like I would like Ahsoka to take like front and center stage here and have the plot kind of come back to like being Ahsoka against Thrawn. So that's my only thing. I do like Sabine as a character. I think they might be trying too hard to make her a Jedi, because I think she really wants to be, to honor the memory of Ezra, who she thought forever was basically dead. But I don't know. I'm like, why wouldn't you just stick with your Mandalorian roots? Like, you're a really good fighter that way. Like, there's precious little Mandalorians left in the galaxy at this point. So I'm like, I don't know. You seem to be doing well by yourself, or as yourself, I should say. So I don't know. That's kind of my nitpick. Overall, I still love this episode. It's still like probably my favorite episode so far. Minus the Noti scene. I was a little bit annoyed by that. I was like, okay, come on, guys. Let me know what they're saying. Let me know what's going on. Don't spend so much time talking a language none of us understand. But yeah. All right, let's go into news from the HoloNet.
We only have a few items for you guys. The old video game, I think it came out in 99 or something like that. Star Wars Dark Force is getting a remaster, what I've heard. We still don't have any update on Eclipse or Outlaws. One of those being in a lot farther development than the other. I'm not even 100% sure Eclipse is going to happen, but we'll see. And then the only other news bit we have on here is we're starting to see the new Jedi Order rumors starting to pop up, with Rey's Jedi Order specifically. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there, because this is going to be post New Republic, because for all intents and purposes, the New Republic as we know it was completely destroyed in Episode 7.
I'm looking for some more Warhammer news as well. From the time of recording, we did actually get a new grouping of Chaos Knights that got released. And not going to lie, the paint job on some of these guys are super cool. So if you guys aren't familiar, a lot of Warhammer news is going to be located on warhammercommunity.com. And one of the things that they came out with today was an article called "Bear Witness to These Monstrously Corrupted Knights of House Maccabeus." I'm sure there's a weird British pronunciation for that. So I'm probably just destroying that. But there are some really beautiful models, and there's one knight that is holding up a giant 8-pointed ring, and I'm not entirely sure what it's for, and it looks evil as heck. So kind of excited about that. Also, I can play knights, but each model is like $300, and that makes me so sad.
They are so expensive.
Yeah. But yeah, some new knight paint jobs and things like that. There's a whole article on Warhammer.com or Warhammer community about it. I highly recommend you guys go check it out, and the different configurations for these new Knight Lancers, Chaos Knights. They've just got some really cool stuff going on over there. All right, with that, guys, we are going to close it out. Thank you guys all for watching. We think every single one of you guys is amazing. Make sure you guys leave your theories in the comments so we know what you're up to. Contrary to popular belief, we cannot read your minds. So make sure you guys leave stuff in the comments so we guys know what's going on. If you guys are a fan of like model painting or anything like that, you can see a couple of models behind me on my desk. If you look above Andrew's head, he's got a bunch of blue boys up there. Keep in mind, they're not Ultramarines, but if you guys have something you're proud of, we would love it if you joined our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord, and you get to share pictures of your models with us there. Or you can also tweet us and tag us in your model pictures on Instagram as well. So make sure you guys do that. If you guys have any questions you guys want featured on air, shoot us a DM or send us an email at talkabouttatooine@gmail.com. Make sure you guys like and share this video to your friends, because that's going to push it through to the algorithm. Interaction into the videos. So if you do truly like something, like it, comment it, and like literally just like send it to a friend. That helps us so much, because the algorithms are brutal, because we basically have this tiny time window to get a certain amount of interest in the video. And if it doesn't hit that, YouTube, Spotify, all those things, they just stop pushing. The algorithm says, nope, this isn't interesting. People don't want to see this if it's not instantly famous. So please make sure to share this with a friend. And until next time, may the Force be with you.